Hey everybody, Al Fragnoli, League of Leaders, joined today by Brandon Gunn for Hot Topic Tuesday. Zach Sooty, much needed breaking off this week. Brandon, thanks for coming on with us. The two of us will chat about a couple topics tonight. First one we're going to touch on, Olympics have just began. So we got USA basketball. 11-point favorites against France to open up the tournament, and they lose. What are your thoughts about USA basketball?
I've started seeing some articles about, but LeBron's not there, and naming, the top 3 to 5 guys who aren't over there. And to me, it's making excuses. I mean, if you take the second, third tier NBA superstars that are still overseas right now playing in the games, they're still way more talented than the rest of the world. I think there are no excuses. And the fact that they got beat by an 11-point underdog in France, I mean, not only do the players have to start to be questioned, but what about Greg Popovich? I mean, how do you have the most talented squad in the field and you don't have them ready to play in a game that they're representing their country? I mean, to me, it's an embarrassing effort. They've gotten beat twice already in the exhibition round against Nigeria and Australia. They've got to pull it together here and really make a run to get to that medal round. Well, what are you thinking, Al?
Yeah, so I'm not ready to count out Greg Popovich yet. I do think that he is a great NBA coach and a good leader. But I couldn't agree with you more that there does need to be some accountability at some point, right? I mean, we can't sit here and look at who's not with the team because they're still loaded with a lot of talent. And at the end of the day, where they've still went into this tournament as an 11-point favorite against France. You know, I don't know. I mean, it was a pretty tight game, a low scoring match. But I still, when I look at some NBA basketball, the defense isn't there anymore around the league, which to me, defense is based solely upon effort. So that's what drives me crazy. And I know that this was a low scoring match, so there was better defense played, but I still think that you have to look at yourself in the mirror and figure out why you lost this game. The talent alone should have won that game. I hope they're able to rebound, but I actually don't think they will. I don't have much confidence in USA men's basketball at the moment. So we'll see what happens. Again, I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think this team is going to go anywhere. Brandon, to your point, they lost a couple games in the exhibition and they didn't look good at all. And they were against teams that they were far superior to. So I don't expect them to do much the remainder of the Olympics, unfortunately. Brandon, we'll jump into our next topic. We'll shift over to baseball. MLB trade deadline coming up, right? Fun time of year. We're getting close to postseason baseball. Who's going to be a buyer? Who's going to be a seller here leading into the trade deadline? So, what surprise team comes to mind right away that is going to be, in your opinion, will be a seller this trade deadline?
So mine is going to be the Cincinnati Reds. So I think that they were, right in the thick of things. I thought that they were really doing well and making a push for the playoffs. But I think that their recent performances, I believe they just got swept by the Brewers, is going to send them into a selling mode. So, I mean, as well as I do, it's either you're a have or you're a have not. It seems like when you're making that trudge towards the playoffs, and if you're not going to make that playoff push, then it's time to offload and rebuild. So to me, I think that the Cincinnati Reds were a team that was, had some high hopes going into the season, but then just with, underperforming recently, I think that they're going to have to sell off some pieces. What team do you have, Al?
Yeah, so I agree with you. Cincinnati is probably going to be a seller. I'm going to stay in the same division there in the NL Central, and I'm going to say the Chicago Cubs. Chicago Cubs are a team with a lot of talent. They're underperforming this year, 2 games below 500 at the moment, I believe, at 49 and 51. About 3 weeks ago, they went into that tailspin where they lost 8, 9, 10 games in a row, and they fell from the top of the standings there in the Central down towards the bottom. And right now they're just sitting ahead of Pittsburgh, who we know is not playing good baseball at the moment either. So I look for the Chicago Cubs again as my surprise team to be sellers. I look for Chris Bryant to be a gentleman that they try and move before the deadline to help bolster a team looking to make a run towards the World Series. Brandon, we'll shift back over to the Olympics right now. So let's talk about maybe a favorite Olympic memory that you have in your lifetime, something that stands out, something that really sticks out in your mind.
So there are a few. I think that one, I mean, with me being such a huge hockey fan, I would have loved to have been around for the Miracle on Ice. Obviously, I was too young to witness it and go through it, but just to see two powerhouses at that time. I mean, both in the sports world, but even more so just with the Cold War going on and all of that. They had the arms race. There's so much riding on this hockey game, and to see a bunch of college players. These weren't NHL guys. These were a bunch of college players that went in and defeated the Soviet Union, which was an absolute powerhouse of a team. Um, I would have loved to have been alive for that. And I still show Miracle on Ice to my son, the movie. It, it gives me goosebumps every time it gets to Herb Brooks doing his speech. But what I was alive for, I would say the original Dream Team basketball teams. Those teams were just fun to watch. I mean, it wasn't thrilling in basketball. I don't think they were ever, close to losing any games when, with the Jordan teams back in the day. But and then I'd say a third memory that really made me love the Olympics and tune in was Michael Phelps's run. What he was doing in the pool was insane for a while. He was just shattering records left and right. It was pure dominance. It was him and then everybody else in the pool. So I would say that those are the memories that really stick out to me from the Olympics. What are some memories that you have?
Yeah, those are all fantastic memories. I don't really remember the Dream Team too much. I was still pretty young at that point in time. I know hearing all their stories, and then you mentioned the Miracle on Ice at the Olympics there in Lake Placid. A great memory too. Again, love going back and watching Miracle on Ice. Just a fantastic movie. But yeah, that is those are great memories right there. And Michael Phelps, who can forget the journey he went on. Mine, I'm going to say, although it wasn't the outcome that I was hoping for, Brandon, it is the 2010 gold medal match for men's ice hockey between the U.S. team and Team Canada. Sidney Crosby scores the game-winning goal in overtime. Again, while I was rooting obviously for Team USA to win that still is a strong memory of mine. Just USA coming back, resurgence, and making it to the gold medal game there. That was so much fun to follow that year. So that is probably one of my favorite memories. Although, again, unfortunately, they fell to a great Canadian team there led by Sidney Crosby. Brandon, let's wrap it up with our last question here. We're going to go over, talk a little bit of Big 12 conference action here. So obviously this has been all over the headlines with Texas and Oklahoma and the rumors of them going to the SEC. Do you think this is going to happen? I mean, what do you think's going on here, Brandon?
So, Al, I think that not only are we about to see some mega conferences be formed, but I think that this is going to be, so we saw the name, images, and likeness get enacted recently, and we had spoken about how the NCAA is kind of meaningless now. I think these mega conferences are going to make sure that this NCAA is going to be disbanded. The Big 12 will also be disbanded after Texas and Oklahoma leave, and that's just going to force the teams in those conferences to flee to another one. And I really do think that we're going to see at the end of all of this 2 to 3 mega conferences revolving around money for the TV deals that come in. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Big 10 go actually out west and try to pick up a USC, Oregon, teams like that. I think that would do a lot for monetarily, at least for the conference. It's going to change what college football looks like. I think, it's going to be the rivalries are going to shift, be much different. And unfortunately, I think we're going to lose a lot of the nice geography-based rivalries that we've come to love in college football. So I'm a little worried to see what we have coming up with if these mega conferences do come into play. But we're going to have to wait and see a few years because obviously college football doesn't move quickly when it comes to scheduling and conferences and things like that. What are your thoughts, Al?
Yeah, I agree with you, Brandon. I think the mega conferences are coming. We talked on this show about a month or so ago with the names, images, likeness with players getting paid. Um, and I brought up the fact that I do believe the NCAA is going to be no more, 10 years from now. And you just mentioned it right there too. I think this is the first sign that we're going that direction, right? So again, it's not going to happen tonight or tomorrow or anything like that. But in a few years, I do think that Texas and Oklahoma will not be in the Big 12 and they'll probably shift over to the SEC. The rumors are probably true. And to your point, the mega conferences are most likely coming. So I think you'll still see the SEC, the Big 10, maybe the ACC and Pac 12 or one of those two remain. But it's going to go to really where the money is and who's going to generate the most revenue. And they're going to put these mega conferences together. And the NCAA, in my opinion, to what you just mentioned too, Brandon, is not going to be around several years down the road. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Again, not going to happen today or tomorrow or anything like that. But in a few years, we're going to see some shifting that happens between these conferences for sure, in my opinion. But anyway, that wraps it up for Hot Topic Tuesday tonight. We hope you enjoyed our conversation. We hope you tune in this Sunday as we're going to be joined by John Mattone, who's ranked as the world's #1 executive business coach. So looking forward to chatting with him. We hope you tune in next Tuesday for another edition of Hot Topic Tuesday. Zach Sooty will be back with us next week. Brandon Gunn will be with us as well. So we look forward to having you on board next Tuesday as well. Thank you, everybody.